fellow ARK players, it's Havoc. Today is day 2 of the ARK Let's Play series titled Raft, Sanctuary Island, Taming Pen. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here is wrapping up, grabbing the rest of the resources to build a raft. It's pretty resource intensive, it takes a lot of hide, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing to get early in the game. But thank goodness I have the mods that I have to help streamline it and progress a little bit more quickly. You know, I'll put a list of the mods that I have down in the comments below so you can kind of see what I'm using a little bit more clearly. And I think it's, I really do think it's a nice setup the way that I've got it. Obviously, you know, it's the way I set it up. So, I mean, it's all personal preference, but for solo play, you know, if you're going to do the vanilla game, you're going to spend a lot of time gathering resources, and even just taming dinosaurs can take hours. I remember when I first played this game, I was taming a Dinosaur, and I didn't even have vegetables. I was using mejo berries and narco berries to keep it knocked out. And it seriously took me like 7 hours to tame the damn thing. And within that 7 hours, it took damage. And if you know anything about taming effectiveness, once you get a dinosaur knocked out, you're fine. But if it takes damage from that point until it's tamed, it will actually hurt the taming effectiveness quite a bit. So it was pretty much 7 hours of my life. Not wasted, but could have been better. Yeah, so as you can see, that reusable bola is a very nice tool to have, and that's part of the Utilities Plus mod. Yeah, a lot of these dinosaurs that I'll be killing that you'll see, it probably won't be feasible or really all that possible without the Utilities Plus mod. So you see this island over there, well, across the river there, that's the, I call it Rock Island or Boulder Island. There's tons of boulders over there, so once you get a Doedicarus or even an Ankylosaur or metal tools, that's a really great place to bring your raft to collect a lot of rocks. You know, I'm surprised to actually see this Castroids here, beaver, whatever you want to call it. Typically, they're further down the river and past the bend that goes left. That's where you'll find their dams. And I'll talk about the importance of knowing the locations of the dams later on once we get to that point where we can actually reap the benefits from them. So this was actually kind of a risky kill. These beavers will mess you up real quick. They're fast and they do quite a bit of damage. So day 1 I was drinking a Rockstar. Today I got a coffee. I love my coffee. And my wife actually got me this for Christmas. It's a portable French press. So you put the coffee grounds at the bottom, then you put the hot water in, and you let it steep, and then you take this plastic insert and press down the coffee grounds, and my wife is pretty cool. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm hunting the dinos that I can easily kill for their hide, because I need their hide to make the raft so I can go to Sanctuary Island. Yeah, with those pteranodons, their weakest point is their beaks. I don't know why, I always just try to aim for the eyeball. I just kind of feel like that's the best place to aim, even though sometimes it isn't. And bolas don't work on turtles. I learned something just there. I'd never tried it before. I thought I would try it. And it was as I expected. the Pteranodon is actually one of my more favorite dinosaurs in the game. It's the bird that I use the most for getting from point A to point B on the map as quickly as possible. And you know what? They do a ton of damage with their C strike. When you hit C on your keyboard, they'll do like this barrel roll, and it will lunge them forward, and they spin, and they do a shitload of damage. You can kill alpha T-Rexes with them. And that's granted that you have the Classic Flyers mod, because the game, the ARK developers actually nerfed the Flyers a ton. So if you're going to play a solo game, I highly advise getting the Classic Flyers mod, or Classical Flyers mod. What happened is players on PvP were getting butthurt because people would fly all the way across the map and attack their base. And they were whining because they said it was unfair, even though they could have had flyers that were that good too. So, a bunch of bureaucratic crap if you ask me, but thank goodness for the modding community in this game. Made the Classical Flyers mod, and so now their stamina is back to being quite exceptional. Oh, and one thing to note about the mods is there's a hierarchy to them. When you're installing them, when you're putting them in the game, you want the mods that affect the game the most to be at the top. So, I like to keep S+ structures near the top, and I like to keep Classical Flyers near the top. And then at the very bottom, I'll do the Ecos Terranium mod, I think it's called. And because all that stuff is just cosmetic, it just has stuff in there that you can build to make your base look nice. Okay, so I got the Raft. Going into the options, I'm going to hide the sail, because I don't like having the sail out. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I built that Raft, my EXP bar was actually like at 0. So I got a whole level from building that Raft. And I would hope so, because it takes so many resources. But even like in mid-game, you can spam rafts and level up fairly quickly that way. That was a pretty good level. Got spark powder, mortar pestle, narcotics, and appetizers. Spyglass. Wood foundations, so I can start making those. And I'll actually make, once I get to Sanctuary Island, I'll actually make the taming pen out of wood. And the wood taming pen is not ideal. You want at least stone. But for the purpose of what I'm using it for, is just to get my first Triceratops. And once I get that first Triceratops, I can then get narcoberries much more efficiently, which means I can tame a lot more dinos a lot more efficiently. So the Trike isn't going to bust through wood walls or anything like that. So, and then since I have the S+ structures mod, I can pick up set down structures or items. So once I'm done with the wood taming pen, I'll just grab the walls, take them down, and then leave the wood foundations, and then add more wood foundations and create a little base out of it. Yeah, I don't know if I touched on it last video, the importance of the beds. First, you can build a sleeping bag. That's the first thing you can build, but I just skip the sleeping bag and go straight towards for the bed, because the sleeping bag only has a one-time use before you have to make another one, and it takes a fair amount of resources to build a sleeping bag, so I don't feel that it's necessary to build that sleeping bag. I'd rather just wait for the bed. And the reason why the bed is so important is if you go out into the woods and die, for example, you can't just respawn at your base. You need a bed to respawn at. And another really nice thing about the beds that you'll probably use a lot later in the game is for fast travel. You can fast travel from bed to bed. The only catch with doing that is you can't fast travel from bed to bed with items on you at all. Like even your armor you want to take it off and put it in a box and store it before you fast travel. And then whatever point you're fast traveling to, you're going to want another box over there with a set of armor and tools or whatever you need. So, but we'll get to that later. Right here I'm just kind of showing you that what it takes for a wall to collapse. The physics in this game can take a little bit of getting used to. It's pretty fair, you know. The physics of the game is not too bad. It's nothing too crazy. It's kind of what you might expect it to be. Nothing more, nothing less. If that makes sense. So I could pick up these walls, but I'm demolishing them for the resources. It's better than running around chopping down things and taking apart plants for the fiber. And I'll never use this base again, so I mean, might as well. Okay, off we go to Sanctuary Island. So one of the things that I'm looking for as I'm sailing for Sanctuary Island is raptors. I'm looking for raptors along the beach to see if there's any high-level ones I can come back to and tame later on once I have the ability to do it. And I'm also looking for easy things to kill for the meat and leather. Something where I can just jump off the raft and kill it real quick. In Ark, it's good to be thrifty. So. Oh, and one thing that you can stumble across along the southern coast, or I think even almost every coast, is you can stumble across these trilobites that are those ancient little crustaceans. And what they're really nice for is they have oil on them. You can, when you're chopping them up with a hatchet, you can get oil. You can get silica pearls, you can get black pearls, and chitin. So, you know, if you stumble across those, I highly advise killing them every chance you can get. Because not until later in the game can you really get those types of resources easily. You're going to at least need flyers to get to the later game stuff. And it's not going to take that long to get a flyer. You know, I think I'll get that on day 3 or 4. You know, I don't think I've talked about these parasaurs yet. What they are pretty much is just a transport for your character. They can carry quite a bit of weight, and they're fairly fast, and they have really good stamina. They don't do any damage though, so the only thing they're good for is carrying weight and, you know, going on foot somewhere. I never get them. You know, the first thing that I tame is the Triceratops, and you can use the Triceratops to, as a hauler. They're not as fast, they don't have as much stamina, but, I mean, it's nice, but I just don't like spending the engram points on something that I don't really need. Oh, so you see that green stream of light right there? That leads down to a supply beacon, and inside those supply beacons are items. And I know that on day 1, you guys might have seen it if you watched it, I came across a green beacon, and I went to go open it, and I couldn't open it because I wasn't high enough level to open it. So what I got here is the levels you have to be to open the different colors of beacons, because I never remember it. Like, I just kind of play the game, and then if I stumble across a green one or a green one, I'll try to open it, and if I'm not high enough level, well, then I just carry on. But for the sake of information, you need to be at least level 3 to get the white beacons. So, and this is going from the lowest level beacons to the highest level. From white, you then go, the next highest level is the green beacon, and you have to be level 15 at least to open those. Then it goes to the blue beacon, and you have to be at least 25, level 25 to open those. And then purple, which is level 35, yellow, which is level 45, and then the best beacon is the red beacon, and you have to be at least level 60 to open those. 60. I know I didn't really pronounce that very well. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm using the Better Beacons mod, Better Beacons 2.0, and it's great. Some people might not like it because it can make it almost a little too easy to get Ascendant gear. But you know, I've come to terms that this is a solo file, and I want to make this game progress relatively quick. Not only for entertainment purposes, but for my sake as well, because I've played this game vanilla, and you know, I've spent a lot of time playing this game, and without the Better Beacons mod, you don't get anything good from the beacons at all. Not that I can think of, or very rarely you get something worthwhile. And that's an Alpha Megalodon. I don't know if you saw that, but it had that orange smoke, that orange aura around it. That means it's an alpha. And any dinosaur, or mostly any dinosaur, not all of them, but most of them have an alpha version. And they're particularly fast and strong and dangerous. So if you're running around and you see an alpha raptor, you might want to turn the other way and not let them see you. Yeah. Oh, you know what I haven't talked about yet is the lead Sichthies, I think they're pronounced. It's a newer marine dinosaur that they introduced to the game, and people know them better as Raft destroyers. And they lurk in the deep waters, so if you're rafting through deep water, you're messing up because you're really risking the raft, your life, and everything on your raft. So, just something to keep in mind. And you want to stick along the coastlines and shallow waters. I mean, they're so massive that they can't follow you along shallower, more shallow coastlines. So, as long as you stick towards the coastlines, you should be fine. Okay, yeah, here's one of those trilobites. There's a chitin, got 3 oil, silica pearls, and a black pearl. And black pearls are pretty damn rare, so that was quite the score. Stupid dolphin. When my wife plays this game, she actually feels bad for killing things like dolphins. For me, it's just like, I need the stuff off of that, so I'm gonna kill it. It's actually not just this game. And my wife and I were just recently playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and what was it? It was like a pig or something. Yeah, it was a boar. And it was one of the civilized boars, like it was in a town. And I told her I was going to kill it, and she protested. And then I went to kill it, and it turns out you can't kill it because it's in a town. It belongs to the town. You can't kill it. So she won. She won that time. Okay, so this is the best route into Sanctuary Island, where you have to go across the least or the smallest stretch of deep water. I mean, every second you're in this deep waters, every second that you could run across a raft destroyer, and you'd really be screwed. If I came across one right now and it destroyed my raft, I would honestly start this whole series over from day one, because that would just, I mean, everything that I've done up to this point would be destroyed. So, yeah, taking a raft through deep water is pretty serious. Not a decision that should be taken lightly. So right here, I actually got kind of indecisive about where I should build the taming pen / base, because I was trying to figure out where would be the best spot to set it to interfere with the least amount of resources, which I've never done before. Usually I've built inside of this the crater. So let me talk about that real quick. The shape of Sanctuary Island is in the shape of a crater, and in the middle of the crater is a bowl. And that's a really cool place to build a base. I mean, you're in this bowl with high cliffs surrounding you in a crescent shape. And I don't know, it's just really cool. But when you build inside that bowl, you interfere with a lot of resources from respawning. So I actually picked this spot because there's not a whole lot of resources there, and I won't be taking any resources away from Sanctuary Island by building along this stretch here. But I mean, if you want to build in the bowl, feel free to do so. It's a cool spot to build. I just wanted to kind of do something different. So priority 1 is to get that taming pen set up and get that Trike, Triceratops. Priority 2 for this day is to start, start the base, but really I'm going to be turning that taming pen into a base after I'm done with it. Level up. What am I gonna choose? Yeah, so hide clothes are a nice upgrade from the cloth clothes. It offers quite a bit more protection, and it also offers better hypothermal protection. And when you're actually looking at the pieces of clothing or armor, it will actually tell you their hypothermal and hyperthermal values. Hypothermal is resistance to cold, and hyperthermal is resistance to heat. Which is nice to know, because especially once you head up north to the winter biomes, you'll find out real quick that you need something warmer to wear than your chitin armor. What you need is fur armor. Fur armor in this game offers the most protection against the colder elements. Yep, so it goes cloth armor, then you go to hide, and then you go to chitin, and then you go to fur, and then I think flak armor is after that. So there's quite a progression to it, and different armors have different benefits to them. Now I go aim for the eyeball again. Okay, so you see that spiky dino right there? That's Ankylosaur, and that's the one that's really good at getting flint out of boulders and metal out of metal nodes. And that's one of the things I'll be taming while I'm here on Sanctuary Island. And another reason why I am killing the dinosaurs on this island is not just for the hide, and it's not just for the meat. It's actually to get them off the map. So the map will then populate a new, hopefully higher level dino into its place. Because I haven't seen a level even 200, I don't think yet, which is kind of unfortunate. Usually I hope to see between level 200 and level 300 dinos fairly quickly. But, and I don't know if I've touched base on that. input a code, and I made a different video on this. I think it's called ARK How to Raise Wild Dino Cap. And you can find it on my channel, HGC YouTube channel, HGC, the Havoc gaming channel. It's in there, and it will show you how to make it so you can make the max Wild Dino level cap, whatever number you want. I like level 300 Wild Dinos, so. And you got to figure out what's worth taming and what isn't. For me, I like to at least be, so if the max wild cap is 300, I want to find at least level 250 to tame. Because anything less than that just kind of seems like a waste. It's like, well, what if I went around the corner and found that level 300? So. And another note is, if you're going to catch a wild dino and tame it, and it's not perfect, or not close to perfect, at least make it a female, because females have an inherent benefit in that they lay eggs, which obviously males do not. And so you want more female wild dinos or tame dinos than you want males. Males are pretty worthless. They don't do a whole lot other than, act as they are. So if you're going to tame a male dinosaur, at least make sure that it's super high level so that you can breed him with a high level female later on. In my case, I think if I found a level 290 to 300, I would get a male. One thing we can talk about is why eggs are important. So you need eggs to create kibble, and we talked about it in the day one video on how you need kibble to most effectively tame a wild dino. So let's say you're trying to tame a wild T-Rex, right? There's scorpions in this game. They're not called scorpions. They have a scientific name I can't remember off the top of my head. But real quick, those are the different types of rafts that you can get with a versatile raft mod. I like the battleship raft because it has 150% speed. I don't know if you remember, but when I was sailing that other raft, it was pretty slow. The battleship one has 150% speed and it has a reverse function, and it also allows you to build a ton more structures on it. And then there's another one, and again, this is the versatile mod, versatile raft mod. They also have a mobile base raft, which is slower than the normal raft, but you can put like 1,200 structures on it. Don't mark my words on that. That's just a guess, but you can put a ton of structures on it. It's literally a floating base. I'm going to be doing the battleship mod because I think it allows you to put plenty of structures on it, and it's fast. And we'll get there when we get there, but you'll see what I'll do with that next raft I'm going to build. It's going to be badass. I think you guys are going to really like what I do with it. It's going to be like part taming pen, part mobile base. So I can go anywhere on the map and tame wild dinos comfortably. So, what was I talking about before that? Was it something about, it was about eggs. Yeah, so to tame a wild T-Rex the most effective way possible, you need the scorpion eggs. So you want a bunch of female scorpions. I usually get like 5 or 6 females at my base that are tamed, and I don't use them for anything. I just let them sit there, and then when I'm running past, I'll check and see if any of them have laid eggs. So you take the egg, the scorpion egg, and you put it into a cooking pot that you can build, and you put it in there with long grass, which is a vegetable, fiber, water, mejoberries, I think a couple other things, and you cook it and it makes a kibble. And then you go and knock out a T-Rex, and when they're hungry, you put the kibble inside of them, and it will literally, like, tame them a ton more than if you were just to put old Joe Blow meat inside of them. So that's not important now. We're not going to get around to kibble for a little while, but if you can get eggs, get them, but be very careful, because if you pick up like a stegosaur egg, the mom is going to find out and charge you, so be careful of that. I'm surprised my character isn't overheating. It looks super hot out and I'm wearing all that hide gear. Yeah, so for building taming pens, I like to use the door frames, because the door frames themselves aren't big enough for most dinosaurs to get through, but it allows you really good visibility into the taming pen to knock the dino within the taming pen to knock it out. And you'll see, you know, as I build it. And then eventually get the Trike in there. And I'm trying to rush it so that I can get a Trike in there by the end of the day. So that way on day 3, I'll be able to have a tamed Trike to show everybody. And how to use it for combat, and obviously collecting berries, which is its primary function. Yeah, so you see that larger dinosaur right there to the right? That, and I don't want you guys thinking that I'm talking to you, you all like you're stupid or anything like that, but you know, some people haven't played this game, and you know, they're probably watching this trying to figure out, you know, some tips and tricks and how to do things, or maybe if they should even buy the game. So don't think I'm trying to talk down or patronize anybody. I'm just spitting out information as I come across it. So anyway, that was a stegosaur, and its primary job is berries as well, and it does a much better job than the Trike does, but it's a bit harder to knock out. So again, you know, I like to start with the Trike first, and then upgrade to the stego a little bit later. And those stegos take quite a bit of work to tame. They're such big dinos that it can take a long time to tame them. And it would be a bitch to knock out without a crossbow, or a bow at least, a bow with trank arrows. I actually skip the bow altogether and I go straight to the crossbow. You still have to build the bow, because the way the engrams work, you have to do certain things in order to unlock certain things. So the natural progression is slingshot, then you can build the bow, then you can build the crossbow. If you don't build the slingshot and you don't build the bow, you can't build the crossbow. It's just the way it is. So, alright, so I'm building an appetizer. That's going to save me a lot of time taming the Trike. Once I have it knocked out, I'll put that appetizer inside the Trike and activate it inside of that Triceratops, and it will make that Trike hungry, and I can feed it much more quickly and tame it much more quickly. So I'm glad that I saved those azul berries and stimberries. If you're playing the vanilla game and you don't have the appetizer mod, I would recommend just dumping use berries and stim berries. It just takes up weight. Or, you know, just throw them in a crate and forget about them for a while until you really know that you don't need them. Oh, coffee is so delicious. Yeah, so if I didn't turn the option or adjust the option for resources to respawn a little more quickly, I would be destroying these trees and these rocks and these bushes, and they wouldn't reappear. I'd have to go to the other side of the island and get wood from the other side of the island and drag it back, go back across the island, get more wood and drag it back. So, again, if you're playing solo, you know, I recommend that you change a few things around so you don't have to mess with that kind of stuff. Make it a little bit more reasonable anyway. Oh, going on level 17. Not bad for day 2. Eventually I'm going to want to build those irrigation pipes. I think that'll be day 3. Or maybe day 4, where I'll start building a farm. I want to get that farm going sooner than later so I can actually start growing those vegetables so I can tame herbivores quite a bit more effectively. Hopefully I'll have enough when it comes time to tame a stego. So now I'm just going to kind of look around a little bit and see what different levels of different dinosaurs there are on the island. Level 20, female Triceratops. Level 100, female Triceratops. And at this point I'm thinking that I'll go with that level 100 female. It's not too low level where it's going to be a waste of time, but it's not too high a level where it's going to take forever to knock out and tame. It's, with the Slingshot, you gotta kind of aim your standards a little bit lower than if you had a crossbow or a long neck rifle. Okay, so this is a metal node. One thing about the metal nodes is they come in different, not colors, but different shades in a way. The ones that appear to be solid gold, those ones are going to have a ton of metal in them. If it's like this one where it's almost all gold but it has that brownish in there, that means that there's a fair amount of rocks inside of it. So, I mean, this is a higher end metal node, but it's certainly not the best. Yeah, you want to use the pickaxe to extract the most amount of metal out of metal nodes, and you can use the hatchet to actually get a lot of rocks out of metal nodes. You get more rocks out of a metal node than you do a typical boulder if you're using the hatchet. So, I mean, if you're looking to get a lot of rocks, then use the hatchet. But typically, you want to extract the metal from metal nodes because there's already enough boulders laying around. Usually. When it comes time to build my battleship raft, it's going to take a ton of rocks. So I might actually use the metal nodes for rocks instead of metal itself. Yeah, so there you can kind of see the bowl that's in the middle of the crater. Yeah, I took a picture of that. I know, I'm a nerd. I'm thinking about getting a bunch of different screenshots and then using those as my YouTube thumbnails. I think it looks a little bit better than having the same arc picture every single time. So that's a yellow beacon, which, if I remember correctly, or if you remember correctly, let's do a test question. I think I went over this earlier, right? So what level do you have to be to open a yellow beacon? Level 45, which I am not even close to. But that's one thing that's, another thing that's really nice about Sanctuary Island is that beacon right there comes back all the time. So you got your own beacon supply on this island. So the island's safe, it has metal nodes, it has the supply beacons. Just a really great location. For some people, if I weren't doing this Let's Play, I think that starting more up north might be kind of fun. Might be a bit more of a challenge. But I'm sure that if I did that, I would miss this strategy quite a bit. I'd be stuck up north getting killed by a ton of shit. I'd be like, man, do I miss Sanctuary Island. When I do go north, I like to be prepared for it. And that includes having my mobile Taming Raft complete. It means that I have at least a high-level Pteranodon. And it also means that I have the capacity to acquire resources effectively. Because up north you want to build metal stuff. Because you're going to come across alpha allosaurs and things like that, so you don't want to be messing around too much in the snow biomes, especially. Yeah, so I'm just reorganizing the doorways to put the taming chamber more up front on this structure. That's pretty rude of that Pteranodon. I was actually a little appalled. So I make this pen 2 walls high. I don't know if that is required, but I like to play it safe. I think that it might be possible for a Trike to get over a 1-story wall, so. Now the idea is to get the attention of a Triceratops and lead him into that chamber of the taming pen, and then once it's in there, put walls behind it, closing it into the taming pen. Later on, you can build gateways, which are large doors, and those work much better. But, you know, I'm just trying to get my first Trike, so I'm just kind of bubble gumming it together. I just need it to work this one time, and this wood taming pen would just be just fine for that. That's sunset already? Days can go by really fast in this game. I mean, it's like 45 minutes, but I don't know, it just goes by quick. Especially if you're playing it. You'll play it, and a day will go by, and then a night will go by, and then another day. And then you'll look at your watch and be like, I've been playing this for 5 hours? So I'm pretty close to completing the taming pen. What I'm going to need to do after that is collect quite a bit of stone, because it's going to take a lot of rocks to knock out a level 100 Trike. And I'm going to need to build a slingshot, make sure that I have the materials to repair that slingshot. The slingshots don't have much health. It's probably like every 30 rocks you shoot, something like that, it will break. So when you're trying to tame a bigger dino, and that takes a lot of stones to knock out, you're going to want materials on you to repair that slingshot on the spot, or multiple slingshots to just, you know, go from one to the next. Or you could do the two slingshot trick where you use one until it breaks, switch to the other one, and while you're using that, repair that first one. That way you can just shower a constant stream without having to wait. I don't know what it is, but in Ark it seems that dinosaurs are kind of attracted to walking on platforms that you create. I've had so many times where I'll build a medium-sized raft that doesn't have walls on it yet, like I'm just using it for a mobile garden or something, and I'll look and there'll be a brontosaurus standing on it. It's like, really? Out of anywhere you could be, you decide to stand on my garden raft. So I don't know if it's part of the coding or if it's just coincidence, but just something I've observed through experience. So I don't know if I should say it or not, but I actually did this video already with my OBS software, and I was super happy with it. You know, I was ending the video, and I hit end video, and I was excited, and I was going to post it up on YouTube, and it was done. And it come to find out, the whole time I was recording, OBS wasn't actually capturing the game. So it was just my face talking about a black screen, and my heart filled with hate for a second, and I didn't know if I should redo it right away or wait, and I decided to do it right away. So, I mean, it's still fresh, it's still fun, and I have a lot of learning to do. I know that I'm not the best talker in the world yet anyway. I do a lot of the ums and ahs, and I'm working on that. It's just going to take a little bit for me to get my confidence up, I think. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, in day one, my screen of me was in the lower left-hand corner. It was getting in the way of the viewer seeing what resources I was collecting, which wasn't ideal. So I put my face in the upper left-hand part of the screen, as you can see. So I think that's out of the way much better than being in the lower left-hand corner. And I also adjusted the volume. I noticed in the first video the volume of the game, the music, was a little loud. So hopefully this is a bit better. You can hear me more clearly. So it's a work in progress. Hopefully things just keep getting better and better and better. Yeah, still no high-level dinos, really. I haven't seen any level 200s or 250s or anything like that. So I'm going to have to put aside some time to go through and kind of kill everything off. I could use the Destroy Wild Dinos command, but in my mind that's cheating. And I'm trying to avoid... I'm not trying. I got this personal thing, like I'm OCD about it, where I don't like cheating. And I do realize that I've kind of buffed some things to make the solo play a little bit more comfortable, especially time-wise. And, I mean, you could call that cheating, but for me it's just out of convenience. And for the viewer, too. I mean, you don't want to sit there and watch me chop rocks for 3 times as long as you are now. So I'm looking for that level 100 Triceratops. And for some reason, I had a hard time finding it. But as you can see in the lower right-hand corner now, I got the ice cube, which means that I am hypothermic. And I'm going to start taking damage. So I don't have a shelter, so the only thing I've got is that campfire. So I'm going to huddle up next to that, and hopefully that will keep me warm. Okay, so it went down to a snowflake, which is a little bit better. And it went back to an ice cube, so it's super cold on this night. So I'm going to have to build a second campfire to actually keep me in the safe zone. And the more fires you have around you, the more thermal intake your body will get. So 2 is better than 1. Yeah, so ideally you'd have a shelter to go into at night when it's super cold out, but I made that assessment, that judgment call, and decided to focus on the taming pen first, knowing that I'd probably have to do something like this, at least for part of the night. Here I'm just kind of, since I have to sit here anyway and not die, I thought I'd go kind of show you some of these options real quick. I don't mess around with them a whole lot myself. We'll get into, like, what are they called? Taming groups? Yeah, tame groups. We'll get into that later. That's one thing that can take a while to learn and get used to. Like, I didn't mess with that at all for the longest time, and you know, sometimes I still don't even mess with it, but once we get to a certain point in the game, I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. So this is where you go to check your dossiers. There's little treasure boxes hidden throughout the map, and when you get near them, they'll open, and no matter how much danger you're in, it will force you to look at this dossier. I've never read a single one. I'm one of those gamers that just likes to get on with it and figure out how to improve my situation. I do realize that a lot of gamers, including my wife, she likes to sit there and read those things. It adds more depth, more reason and purpose behind the game, and I can understand that. So sometimes I'll be like that, and I'll sit there and read whatever. Same with other games like Horizon Zero Dawn. I would just skip all the dialogue, and my wife was not happy about that. And I assured her they were just the side stories. I just had to go kill something and then bring whatever back to the person who gave me the quest. One thing you can do on super cold nights is you can actually heat yourself up a ton to the point where you're overheating, and then that way when you go outside you can last a bit longer without freezing. So, you know, you can have 4 or 5, 6 fires going around you, and you can be sweating your balls off or your ovaries, and then you can go jump out into the cold and last a bit longer. Okay, there, real quick, hypothermal insulation, hyperthermal insulation. It's negative 4 degrees out. The hide boots will help a little bit with staying warmer than I was previously. So that's nice. And then I think the only thing that I'm missing from this hide set of armor is the helmet. Yeah. And the helmet looks really stupid with the hide armor. But I'm not so much concerned about the looks, I'm more about the practicality, so once I can build that, I will. Alright, so I'm off to go get that trike to bring it back to the taming pen. And it looks like the sun is starting to rise, so I gotta be quick about it. I don't want to have to end the video without having that done first. Alright, there it is, level 100 female. So what you want to do is you want to get its attention by hitting it with a rock with a slingshot or a trank arrow or a tranquilizer dart. Get its attention and it's going to chase you. And the Trike can't run fast enough to keep up, so don't have to worry about that much. But if it does catch up to you and if it hits you, it has such a large knockback that will knock you back a ton. And I've actually died from Triceratops because I'll get too close and it'll knock me into a corner, like in between two rocks or something, and I won't be able to get out of there. So it will corner me and just destroy me. So that's something to look out for, is their knockback. Another thing to note, you see how there was that second Trike that didn't seem to care? That would not have been the case if that second Trike had seen me initialize that first hit. So if there's two Trikes standing next to each other and you hit one of them, they're going to both come charging at you. But if you get the attention of one Trike without the other Trike seeing, you can actually run past that Trike no problem. Just as long as he didn't see, or he or she didn't see you get that initial hit. I've had to utilize that knowledge many times. And I'm waiting because I do not want to accidentally hit that Brano, because that would cause a lot of problems. That was close. Yeah, so one thing I'm kind of messing up with is I'm getting too far away from the Trike and it's losing interest. Ideally, you kind of want to stay a little bit ahead of it, so that way you can kite them a lot better. And for those who don't know what kite means, or kiting is when you're doing what I'm doing. I'm having this dinosaur follow me. I'm kiting them into this taming pen. So I ran in there and hid behind that middle pillar, and I just did that just to assure that the Trike came straight into the taming pen. So sometimes they... Okay, so there you can see the knockback, and this was only a level 100. Imagine a level 300, that knockback would have been crazy. So if a dinosaur misses the taming pen, don't freak out unless you're low on stamina. Just kind of kite it back, or steer it back a ways and realign it for a straight entry back in the taming pen. Sometimes it can take a few tries, especially with the larger dinos like the Stegosaur. They're kind of slow and they have that wide turn radius, so it takes a little bit of finessing to get them into the taming pen sometimes. So I'm hitting it in the head a bunch. It's only doing 1 damage, but I'm being careful not to accidentally kill it, because you can actually kill dinos that you're trying to tame by hitting them in the more sensitive areas. You know, with Pteranodon, if you use a tranquilizer and hit it in the beak 2 or 3 times, it's dead, even though you're using trank arrows. So you want to hit them where it doesn't necessarily hurt them a ton. So I'm just trying to knock it out a bit without doing too much damage. and then I'll start shooting it in the leg. And it will do more damage, but it will knock it out a little bit more quickly too. And there's no way that I'm going to be able to finish knocking this girl out before this video is done. So you'll have to join me on day 3 to finish knocking out this trike. We're going to tame it, and hope to see you there.